So I'm back for, hopefully, the final part of the background. Yeah. So, Scarlet Empress has been on the throne for 768 years. What I actually neglected to tell you was that basically, when the Solars fell, this time period between when the Solars fell and when the Great Contagion occurred, somewhere between this point, the First Age basically ended, and you then get the Second Age, which is the age you're playing, basically called the Age of Sorrows. Now, I'm not going to take this background too much further today, but needless to say, basically, you start play 5 years after the Scarlet Empress has very mysteriously vanished from the throne. Nobody's sure where the hell she's gone, but there are a series of events that take place in a very short space of time that lead everyone to suspect that something very sinister is about to take place within the world of creation. Her disappearance, let's face it, when you're a ruler of such a vast and massive world, you need to take your breaks. So, it's not the first time she's taken a holiday. Basically, the courtiers and everybody else, the politicians, she left them in charge, and basically with long-standing rules of government. For those little occasions when she might not be around to do everything she needs to do. That's fine. Never for a year, and then 2 years or 5 years. But anyway, so essentially, her disappearance wasn't actually made public until about 2 years later. However, in that short space of time, it was suddenly everybody suddenly realised, to their horror, that in fact the Jade Prison had been breached. This meant that all the solar souls that were encased in here were then free to find new hosts. One thing I've skipped over is basically when the Scarlet Empress came to the throne, she created her own sort of religion called the Immaculate Philosophy. This religion basically went along the lines of the Dragonbloods are to be obeyed at any costs. The Dragonbloods are the closest. Sorry, let me try that again. The elemental dragons, rule the world. The Dragonbloods are the children of the elemental dragons, and they're so close to becoming elemental dragons themselves that they can do no wrong. Obey the Dragonbloods whenever they give you an order. Don't rise up against the Dragonbloods, etc., etc., etc. On top of which, basically, we also have it went into reincarnation a bit as well. Basically, it said that never think about just yourself. The more look at the Dragonblood's ideals of teamwork and all this sort of stuff. So it was a form of control, really, more than anything. But on top of this, the Empress, in a clever move again, also portrayed any other type of Exalted, the Solars, the Lunars, and any other Exalted that might exist, class them as anathema or demons, things that should not exist within our reality. And basically, anybody who sees a Solar goes to the nearest Dragonblood, says, "Oh my God, there's a demon over there," and they go and get themselves slaughtered. There's this huge tradition of wild hunts that will actually sort of, if a Solar or Lunar birth has been prophesied, then these wild hunts will go out and destroy that newborn anathema, because when they're younger, these beings of power have to grow into their power. Which is why when I told you before about Solars who can impose their very will on creation and sort of create new land and all this sort of stuff, that's not something a new fledgling sort of Solar can actually do. So, you were created as a god-killing machine, but it takes you a little while to get there. But yeah, now then, like I say, the Jade Prison has actually been broken into. Oh hell, what the hell's going to happen now? The Empress has disappeared, and not only that, strangely enough, a new type of anathema has suddenly reared its ugly head. A new type of anathema that call themselves Death Knights, apparently anathema of the underworld. So, I'm not going to go too much further because you can read the rest for yourselves and how everything works. This powerhouse, the Jade Dynasty or the Scarlet Dynasty, whatever you want to call it, that had the whole of creation in its throttling grasp only a few years ago, has suddenly started to fall apart. The 10 great houses are starting to bicker. The 10 Dragonblood houses. Things are falling to corruption all over again. And, well, do the return of the Solars mean that, things are going to get on the right track again? Do the return of the Solars means that the world is going to be destroyed? Or, what's going to happen? That's your story in creation from that point. So, bloody hell. Right, so after that somewhat exhaustive background, and I've probably not covered half the points that I might have done, but let's not worry about that. That is the background of Exalted. Yeah, it's pretty exhaustive. I know. I'm sorry. I'm a bit fatigued by it myself. But anyway. Yes. So you play this god-blooded hero who's finally been reawakened in a world that treats you as a demon, as an anathema. How do you cope? How do you grow? How do you even learn what the hell is going on? How do you come to terms with the fact that you may have been sort of an avid follower of the Immaculate Philosophy, and you've just turned into one of the very creatures that everybody else is seeking to destroy? It's a bit of a tall order. But really, at this point, if you're playing from this time period, you are being left to your own devices. And this is why, as a power game, I think this is absolutely brilliant. As a solar, after just a few game sessions, if you build your character properly, and building characters does come into it quite a lot. If you build your characters properly, there's no reason why you shouldn't take on a mortal army of humans and actually come out very much alive. Right? This is the sort of power level a Solar Exalted has, even as a newborn. But problem is, there are beings that are a lot older than you still around in creation. It's like there's always going to be a bigger fish in the sea. So, what I really love about the game, and this is what gets me, is that you are this immensely powerful being. You have the power to pretty much do whatever you like. It's one of the most free-form games I've actually played. I think it's brilliant in this regard. You want to start a mercenary band? You got the capital to do so, then do it. If you want to capture a city, do it. If you want to actually try and take over the scavenger lands and bring it under one rule against the Scarlet Dynasty, do it. There's nothing that says that you shouldn't. Obviously, you always need the quests and whatnot to keep you going, but these really are epic, world-changing tales. It's not. You're not a group of heroes against who are helping to fight back this necessary evil. You are the front line, and it's like do you want to be a moral character who's trying to save the people, or do you actually want to worship the Neverborn, the primordials that died, and return everything to a state of chaos? It's your call, completely your call. So from that sense, it's a very, very fun game. If you're into that sort of thing, if you really want to sort of take the reins and bring things under control, you can really have whatever type of game you want. This is just what really appeals. In a few sessions of Exalted, I did more role-playing than I did in Dungeons & Dragons in about 2 months. So, it's like... So, we had a lot of fun. It was brilliant fun. I think... when the previous campaign we had came to a natural stop, it was a case of, we are keeping these characters, we are going to continue this at some point, and that hasn't changed yet, so we still feel the same way. Anywhom, yes, I shall briefly go through the different books that I have at my disposal, if you're still interested at all. I'll go through the different types of Exalted in a little bit more detail, and basically fill in what's going on, all this good stuff, and my take on the setting, the system, and the way it works. So anyway, I shall be right back. So that's the end of the background, you'd be glad to hear. That's completely it. Gone. Done. So, okay, so I'll be back with a look at the books, a look at the system, and a look at the different types of Exalted and people that you can meet in this crazy, awesome fantasy world. Be right back, lads. Cheers.